The Chinese ETF correlation continues to surprise us with matching price action. The pullback we experienced today was absolutely seen, whether or not we noticed those 300,000 shares to short. The break out of the key resistance typically requires a retest of support, and we did just that. Welcome back to the channel. This is ARCa, and let's dive into ticker symbol FNGR. Let's kill it. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. Let's go ahead and dive straight into the ticker symbol FNGR. And what I want you to see here, I'm sorry for this. Actually, this is not giving us that. Oh, good. There we go. There we go. Okay, this is better light. I don't know why the spy was up there, right? So yes, we wanted to take a look at the price action here regarding the FNGR asset, right? So we had this massive pullback here on the CNYA before a recovery. Now, please note for a fact here that you're looking at the closing price of 501, but if you look at the closing price of the after hours, this is where we ended up going. We recovered just a little bit and came back up to 509, still closing the day upside of the $5 mark. Okay, this is looking very, very good for the asset. All right, so let's go ahead and move on here. I do have a few things to talk to you about regarding today's price action, right? So today the price literally went all the way to 559, right? And people are saying, why did it stop there? Or why did it do this? Well, if you recall, or if you remember correctly, we were already kind of expecting that top side based on this very nice regression. Look at that. We got that regression bounce, and then we got the retest of, guess what? We broke outside of the Gaussian bands, we got the resistance of the regression, and then we pulled back to get the validation of our newly converted resistance into support. Very simple, very simple. Another thing that we should notice here, that it's upon the firing of this volatility versus momentum back signal or back test, which is consistent of 20 total iterations on the daily time frame. We just performed this back test just yesterday, right? And for us to determine what the upside can look like. So out of the 20 iterations, 17 have been guessed correctly to the upside, marking an average upside accuracy that gives us an 85% read. The average upside thrust, aka mean, is giving us a 33.4% move to the upside with a standard deviation of 35.12, which is 68%, which is the 68% of the performers within the bell curve. Right, so now I have calculated the upper bound and the lower bound of the first standard deviation, being the lower and upper performers of the bell curve itself. So we have a curious read here. The 35, let's see, or the mean, the 33.4% of the performers was telling us that we would reach a price of about $5.96. So now if we measure just what has happened thus far with considering today's price action, then we have fulfilled 25% of that 33.4% move to the upside, and it's still not done. We still have a massive upside pivot here. The SMA 14 is now entering the bullish control zone. The EMA 3 is in the gravitational zone of the bearish control zone, likely to get pulled up to the upside. And as long as volatility is still upside of the contraction of the critical contraction zone, that I still consider this a valid move. If the volatility enters again into critical contraction, this move will be invalidated, and it would have to start all over again when volatility exits the 15 percentile line or 15% line. Okay, so it's very conditional for us to look at that. Okay, but as long as we are upside of the 15%, I consider this to be still a valid signal and in play. Okay, the upper bound of the first standard deviation, 68%. 68.5 is leading to a target that could be around 752 to the range of 726, right? So we don't want to focus on those targets just yet. Let's try to get the upper bounds first. I'm sorry, the lower bounds first. So we want to get that. Well, actually, the lower bound was already kind of the lower bound is already fulfilled. So yeah, let's go ahead and focus on the 68% of the performers, or the mean itself, right? Before we can actually determine those higher probabilities. Of course, it's always It's there. It's literally statistically saying that it is possible. But of course, statistics are not certainties, and we should take them as such and move onwards, right? So now let's go ahead and move on to the next chart to see what else we have. This is what we were observing live. Okay, and this is absolutely one of the ways that we were able to determine that we were in fact finding ourselves within a support line. So we broke outside of this, right? We were already talking about a resistance grab between 540 and 570. We touched 559, got that retracement just like we said, and now we started testing just like we said as well. We were talking about a potential 501 to 504. Price action ended up coming down to a low of 492 and then recovered, thus validating this support line or the conversion of resistance into support before a continuation to the upside. Similar to the Gaussian bands, but in this case here, a 12-hour time frame descending triangle or right-angled triangle, right? So the top side target of this is landing at about a 661 to 639. So if we were to look at those targets statistically, 669 lands right upside of this 1 spot 618 and right under the 3 spot 272 in a shorter time frame. Okay, so those things are looking not bad. They're looking pretty good, and also the 35%, the standard deviation itself is leading to a target of 603. So all of it is sort of rhyming here and there, right? It's all kind of it's all relevant. Okay, and the bottom side is around 639 itself. So this is why we marked off the 603 right up here, because we wanted to see the relevance between this area here and the psychological price objective based on the breakout from the triangle itself, right? So this would be right over here. Since we broke out of the triangle and closed the candle for the first time outside of the resistance band, then this is where we measure the first area of a psychological price objective. We take that measurement, we apply it to the breakout zone here, and that's how we got that 658. Okay, and yeah, and of course we have other targets to observe. You know, from the very top of the hypotenuse all the way down to the very bottom side of the triangle. You can also take that trend line and apply it to the zone of breakout, and that also gives us, you know, these targets right up here, of which I'm not focusing on just yet. I am focusing on first combating this area here in the first place. We want to get over that 570 and reach our standard deviation of 603 in order for us to validate this zone here into a support before a continuation to the upside. We will be facing some ebb and flow here, a lot of zigzagging around, but I do expect FNGR to make some pretty nice moves in the coming days. Okay, so next thing that we should observe here is that we are primed for a monthly closure and bi-monthly candle closure. Okay, 16 hours and 22 minutes indicative of tomorrow at market close. We would be closing this monthly candle and hopefully outside of the newly converted resistance into a support line. Okay, so this line here we absolutely want to maintain at the minimum. We want to maintain 495 and up. Okay, but if we do close at, you know, $5 or 509, just like we have been in these in some of these days, then this would mark off after a downtrend a very nice bullish hammer, which would in essence give us the signal for a continuation to the upside, right? So the validation candle after a hammer candle would be the following candle. So that next candle is definitely going to be feeling the pressure of fulfilling the upside signals based on this formation itself. Okay, so yeah, and then if we want to observe the bi-monthly, then you can see the bi-monthly is also primed to print 3 white soldiers. Okay, so that is going to be an absolutely powerful signal, and this is now suggesting 2 bullish formations, one on the bi-monthly with the 3 white soldiers, and one on the monthly time frame as a bullish hammer, potential buy formation breakout, which would be also a bull flag here on the monthly time frame, right? So yeah, arguably speaking, 3 bullish formations and you know, validating an upside from a prior bullish engulfing iteration. So I like it. I like what we're doing here. FNGR is showing high promise, and I do expect some pretty nice moves to come. So now the and also remember that as long as we have that monthly closure and bi-monthly closure ahead of us, then price action may not actually fully break out until that closure is done and we close with confirming supports just like the ones that we were talking about on the monthly time frame here, confirming this newly converted resistance into support, that would introduce an upside continuation. So meaning that there would be buy side conviction and also confirmation. So yeah, we as traders, we wait for confirmation. Okay, team. So immediate short-term time frame. This is the last part of the analysis here. Yeah, immediate short-term time frame upside on the RSI here in the gravitational zone. I can't say that we're not going to consolidate there at all, because it looks like we have in the relative or in the immediate short, right? So we just have to kind of play this by ear and see how sentiment feels by that, right? But we are going to be getting some signs of consolidation based on that monthly closure. Okay, so similar situation here to the buy hourly, right? The buy hourly is actually facing an upside, but with a slight downside pivot on the SMA 14, marking off resistance, right? Could be another sign of consolidation, which is entirely okay. But now moving on to the 4-hour and into the 6-hour, we are bouncing off of the SMA 14 and leading into the gravitational zone. However, you can see that the difference of the pivot here is not as aggressive as the pivot here. So again, a little sign of consolidation, but overall with an upside bias. Okay, the 12-hour time frame here, same bias as this, or same degree of that upside pivot as the 6-hour. I'm sorry, the 4-hour and the 6-hour. Yeah, the 12-hour time frame shares that pivot, and it is also on the way to that gravitational zone of the bull weakness percentile. Very likely for it to get pulled up to the upside when that does reach it, which is also telling us that this slow upside is very much creeping into there and not aggressively moving on to that because of the monthly closure. And daily time frame suggesting a potential drawdown here with a support of the SMA 14 before a bounce to the upside. It's entirely okay. These time frames here on the upper time frames are essentially waiting for the influence from the shorter time frames, but very nice here on the 5-day time frame, as it is validating the SMA 14 in the gravitational zone. So this is kind of a hint telling us that the overall direction for the asset could be an upside, generally speaking here. Okay, so definitely keep FNGR on your watch list. Let's make sure that we are watching our risk, because we are absolutely in the money. We signaled this buy at 385. We ended up getting a buy-in of 396 right down here, right? And then we actually got that very nice upside. So congratulations to you if you definitely got to get long this asset. Okay, team. So now you know the resistances, you know the supports, you know the play, and we should be reviewing this in the AM tomorrow. Come by 6:40, 6:50 AM Pacific Standard Time, and we will stream this live. Please take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. I need you to do your own due diligence and everything will be cool. But with that said, team, I wish you well and a very, very good night. I'll catch you at the bell mañana. Adios. Yeah.